they're going to speak about today is worth the weight in gold in the aspect of client relationship and business relationship and what resources and rights are out there. So the part of what they're going to talk about is you really, really need to take notes and most importantly, engage in the conversation with it. So we have plenty of time for questions. So make sure, but Sharon, is this not your first time in California to speak about what you do?
This is not my first time, but again, I really appreciate this opportunity as always to connect with NAWRB and with your group.
Okay, very good. Let's close. Anyway, so what we're going to do is that, so to my right, I have, first and foremost, we have Phil Lovas. He was just appointed by the administration in April?
Yes.
April. He's new to this position. We had Yvonne Lee, if you were here 2 years ago. She spoke, and so she's taking over that region for her. And what it is the dynamics that he brings in his background. I'll let him describe his, talk about his past, because he has some incredible opportunities of his experience that he brings to the Office of Advocacy for the SBA. And then Sharon Asar, she works for the CFPB Ombudsman, which means that her control of what happens outside to inside is really cool. So I'm going to let them describe a little about themselves, something unique and different. I believe in that they have to disclose something that you've never heard about before. So we're going to take with Philip. Go ahead.
Well, good morning, everyone. My name is Phil Lovas. I am the Regional Advocate for the U.S. Small Business Administration's Office of Advocacy. And I'm sure you're very familiar with the Small Business Administration itself. Most people think of the SBA, they think of loan guarantees and contracting, how do I sell to the federal government, disaster relief for small business, all those sorts of things. What we do at the Office of Advocacy is a very narrowly defined mission. We deal with research and with regulations. And I'll get into a little bit of both of those. On the research side, we provide research to the federal government and to the public regarding any kind of small business data. So if you need information on veteran-owned businesses, if you need information on minority-owned businesses, whatever it may be, credit card financing for small businesses, state economic profiles, you can find that at our website, sba.gov/advocacy. We've just put out some information recently and a kind of an update on the 2012 survey of business owners regarding female-owned businesses. I got a call from somebody in Hawaii saying, hey, this information is great, but can you provide some information specifically to Hawaii? And so that's some data that our office cut and provided to them regarding Hawaii. So those are the sorts of things that our office can do regarding research. On the regulation side, this is mostly what the Office of Advocacy is known for, and this is a great deal of what I do in the field. What we do on the regulation side is we are the watchdog for the Regulatory Flexibility Act, and what that says is that government must consider the effects of its regulatory actions on small businesses and where possible mitigate those actions. So our office, we have a number of attorneys in DC who are dealing with the rule writers on an ongoing basis, making sure that those rules that they are writing do not negatively affect small businesses. And for those of us in the field, there are 10 regional advocates. I cover Region 9, which is Arizona, Nevada, California, and Hawaii. We are out listening and learning from small businesses in the field and taking that information back to DC and letting them know what we're hearing. We just did a regulatory roundtable in Louisiana about a month ago. We just did one in Idaho last week. And as you can imagine, between Louisiana and Idaho, what we're hearing is very different. In Idaho, a lot of concerns about mining issues, some environmental. Louisiana, I was at that roundtable. It was everything from CFPB to transportation to education to all over the board. Covered a number of different issues. So we are out getting data on that. And one of the main things that we are doing also is gathering data specifically for the 2 executive orders that the President has put out regarding regulatory reform. One of those is that for every new regulation proposed, we want to take 2 off the books. The other one is that each agency has to have a regulatory task force to look for rules that are outdated, unnecessary, redundant, or job-killing, look to take those off the books. So that is a great deal of what we are doing. My background, before I took this position, I was in the Arizona legislature for about 5 years, and then most of my business background has been in hotel franchising. I worked for several big companies doing franchise development for them over a period of about 15 years. So I look forward to your comments, questions, and anything that we can do to help you at the Office of Advocacy.
Excellent. What I'd like to go before is give them some fun facts about you. You didn't tell me anything. You glossed over that. That's unique about you.
Fun facts about me. Well, I coach my son. I have 3 children, 14, 12, and 8. 14 and 12-year-old are boys, 8-year-old's a girl. I coach my 12-year-old son's basketball team for the summer here. And we won the first game, 33-32. He hit the winning shot. And then the second game we lost, I think it was 57-14. Of which, after the first game, I thought I was an absolute coaching legend. And the second game, we slunk off to the car and drove home and didn't say a word. So that's usually how it goes, but hopefully we'll have another game this weekend.
All right.
Thank you once again for the terrific and warm welcome. Sharon Asar, the Deputy Ombudsman with the CFPB Ombudsman's Office, and so grateful to be able to connect with you all here today and share about our resource and to hear how we can potentially assist you and to stay connected with you over time. The CFPB Ombudsman's Office, Ombudsman, you may be thinking, what does Ombudsman mean? That perhaps is a term that you may have heard before, but perhaps you never quite looked into what it means. At the CFPB Ombudsman's Office, we're an independent, impartial, and confidential resource that assists the public, and the public means consumers, it means business people, trade groups, consumer groups. We assist the public with process issues they may have with the CFPB. So again, process issue, what does that mean? Process issue, we say that no issue is too big or too small. So if you have a process issue with the CFPB, please do connect with us. We'll be happy to assist. We've assisted over the years. We've been in place for about 5 years. As you know, the CFPB is relatively young, as is our office. And we've assisted with a number of different process issues to include inquiries about the consumer complaint process the CFPB operates, the bank examination process, and we've also heard inquiries about the procurement process. So it's a wide range of issues. So again, we look forward to being able to assist.
Excellent. Fun fact.
Fun fact. Well, my husband and I, we love German Shepherds. We rescue German Shepherds, and as you may know, they're perpetual 2-year-olds. So we have 2 140-pound 2-year-olds in the house. So it's always fun.
Very, very cool. So one of the things I know that's very, is that I wanted to talk about, now Philip, I remember reading your bio, and I apologize, my cell phone's not working to the internet this second, is that you had some incredible history and experience that you can bring to the Office of Advocacy. I think it's 15 years in hotel or something like that?
Yeah, correct. I did about over 15 years of franchise development work for a number of different hotel companies. And in that position, we help people to really try to achieve their dreams, from starting with, they may have land, they may have nothing, they may have a dream, and try to piece that together for them, from small town interstate locations to downtown locations, depending on where it was. The area that I covered was pretty much the western U.S. and mostly in the mountain states. And so I got a chance to deal with a lot of small entrepreneurs. Some of them were just starting out. One guy had done his first hotel when I started working with him. Just started, it was struggling. We changed the brand on it. He then went on to do multiple properties. He probably owns about 10 or 12 hotels right now. And it's everything from helping them find financing to helping them find land, putting a partnership together, whatever it really takes to get those deals put together. And if you are successful in it, if you've got the right location, real estate is really the big factor in a hotel, because if you've got the right location, you've got a great chance for success. Really, real estate and management, those are the two things. As an owner, you may not know what you're doing, but if you're hiring the right people who do know what they're doing, you've got a great chance for success. So in a lot of the companies, a couple of the companies I worked for, hiring a management company was very important to them, and quite frankly, a precursor in order to getting the deal done, because they didn't want somebody who had no experience and was unable to do it. But if you were willing to learn and hire a management company the first time, chances are you could go on to put together your own operation later, which several of them did. So we were very fortunate, and a number of people that I worked with were able to grow their operation from a single hotel to multiple over time.
And wasn't it some large number, wasn't it like millions and billions of dollars I read in your bio of the number you'd worked with as far as volume of transactions that they went
I
through?
think I did over 200 hotel deals in that period of time. I'm not sure what the dollar volume amount would be, but yeah, about 200 total different deals.
And that's phenomenal. So think about the research you can bring to the Office of Advocacy of the SBA, and that's why I like to bring out the different things. So Sharon, a little bit about your background that you can bring to the table.
Absolutely. Like many people in DC, fortunately or unfortunately, I started as an attorney, so.
Isn't there a common theme around here about how many attorneys we have? Go ahead.
I think the latest is that 1 out of every 14 people in DC is an attorney. But that said, I started out in the area of intellectual property with trademark, and I was fortunate enough to work with a lot of business owners, entrepreneurs, consumers, and seeing the importance of branding, the importance of getting their business plan into action underway and protecting their brand and their reputation. Over time, I was lucky to get into the Ombudsman field, and I've been with the CFPB again for the last 5 years or so. And again, have a wonderful window into the interests and perspectives of members of industry, of colleagues such as yourself, and of consumers, and again, to be able to assist with process issues as they engage with the CFPB to make it a bit more of a more practical engagement when they connect with a large federal agency, or perhaps not so large federal agency, but an agency nonetheless.
I just want to follow up on something she said. You talked about business plans and branding. One of the things that really struck me when I took this position was that people just don't realize all the facets that the SBA offers. You hear about people paying to have business plans done, these other things. But yet we have counselors. I think there's 13,000 SCORE counselors across the country working with the SBA to help small businesses, to put together those business plans, to help people grow their business. So if you have those type of needs, please reach out to your local SBA office. I know the offices here in California do a great job. Mr. Quijada here in the Santa Ana office is a great person. Their staff is very helpful. I would certainly urge you to reach out to the local SBA if those are the sorts of things that can be helpful, because I think most people just don't know, where do I start with government? It just seems so big and so overwhelming, and the SBA is a great place to do that.
Just one quick thing to follow up on that Philip mentioned. And again, part of our reason to exist is to assist with process issues, but at the same time, we want to make the CFPB more accessible. So even if you don't have a process issue or concern, if you're trying to get in the right direction with the CFPB and contact a particular office, or if you want to share something in confidence and talk something through in terms of your engagement with the CFPB, please feel free to reach out to us. Again, we're here to assist with process issues and to make the CFPB more accessible to everyone.
So one of the things I want to break down, I get everything you're saying, but I have a feeling a lot of you don't, because they're saying it so fast, because it's really technical, a lot of jargon in the sense that not about numbers, about just the concept of what's going on. So I want to peel it back a little bit, because I've been in this space now for 10 years, and I didn't know that Sharon existed, not as a human being, but the actual department, to be honest. And I think that it really speaks volume of what Sharon can do in the aspect of just knowing the knowledge of what's out there. That's why we call the rights and resources. So if we break it down in a real slow, basic avenue, does everyone here know what an ombudsman is, even though she's already said it? Can I see hands and how many say yes? So I thought, okay, less than 20% of you. So let's break down physically what an ombudsman is, and then I want you to break it down about the actual differences between, if we can ignore the name CFPB, and how that really relates on a much slower, example-oriented way of doing something that we could talk about real quickly.
Absolutely, and thank you for the opportunity. Ombudsman, again, it's a Swedish term, I believe, from many years ago, and it means a individual or representative who can advocate for the public. So in this case, again, we're an independent, impartial resource. So we're independent of the CFPB. We are part of the CFPB, but we're independent of the business lines. We're impartial. So if an individual or a company comes to us and asks for assistance, we don't take the side of the person, nor do we take the side of the CFPB. We're advocating for fairness in process. And importantly, we're confidential. We're a confidential resource. again, people in business, their business activities, its trade matters, et cetera, are typically very sensitive, and certainly in bringing that forward, they may wish to bring something forward in confidence, or if they don't want to raise something directly with CFPB, you're welcome to come to us. I could give several examples. One item I referenced briefly, a procurement example. Excuse me. We had a company that reached out to us. They were seeking clarification and guidance about the CFPB procurement process for smaller companies. And we were able to facilitate via shuttle diplomacy contact with the relevant offices. And again, when someone comes to us or a company comes to us, we talk with them through the options. So we don't immediately go to the relevant CFPB office and try to resolve the issue. We're partnering with the individual or company that comes to us to talk through the options to see how they would like to proceed and go forward from there. Another brief example would be the consumer complaint process, and that's how it applies on both the consumer side and on the company side. As many of you may know, the CFPB operates a consumer complaint process, a very robust process. And consumers are submitting complaints, and very frequently they may have a question or a concern or a issue with the way the process is ongoing. So they may come to us and we'll assist in educating them about the process, or if there's a problem with the process, we'll assist there as well. On the flip side, we assist also with companies who are the recipients of complaints, consumer complaints. If they're having a problem in their engagement with the CFPB, say they're receiving a lot of duplicate complaints, which potentially become public and could cause reputational risk, et cetera, then we can try and iron things out there. So those are just two of the examples, but as I shared earlier, no process issue is too big or too small. We welcome novel issues. We seek to tailor our resource and services to the public as they approach us.
What's the size of your team?
We are a small team. We call ourselves small but mighty. We're 5 now, and we keep quite busy, but we very much like our team and our work. We're energized by the folks that connect with us, and again, we feel fortunate to be able to be in this role and to assist the public.
Very cool. Phil, same ideas. The Office of Advocacy, you have the Ombudsman of the SBA, and you have the Office of Advocacy of the SBA. And a lot of terms out there. What's the difference between the Office of Advocacy versus the Ombudsman for the SBA? And how does that help, especially within the regulatory bodies and what's going on in the housing ecosystem world, how you can talk about the business opportunity? Because every one of us, whether a realtor, contractor, attorney, CPA, insurance, and whether we work for a big company or not, at the end of the day, unless you're a salaried employee or an hourly employee, you report your business opportunities or business on the tax returns that they are affected by what you do. So talk to about that difference and how that overlays.
Sure, thank you. Yeah, Sharon mentioned, she gave a great description of the Ombudsman's office. And the way I describe it is we are dealing with, at the Office of Advocacy, more macro issues. They're dealing with the SBA ombudsmans, most ombudsman's offices are dealing with particular problems that you have with a government agency. Whereas we're looking at the rules and regulations that are affecting the general population, if you will. So while we deal with federal regulations, we also hear a lot on everything from local to state. And if we can't be upheld, we will certainly refer that to somebody who can. On the local side, obviously you're in real estate, you deal a lot with zoning regulations. We hear about those, we'll certainly try to refer those. The state and federal can be a little bit overlapping depending upon what the law is or which particular agency is handling it. For instance, I was at a meeting, a roundtable at a congressman's office in California held recently, and they were talking about labor issues. Overtime rule a little bit from the federal side, but mostly Cal-OSHA and the effect of Cal-OSHA on their particular business. Again, that's a state issue, but it's something that we will refer to the state regulators or the state ombudsman or whoever it may be to try to work on those problems as well, because a lot of these things are interconnected, and certainly from the federal side, we have a lot more opportunity obviously based that we are a federal agency. However, on the state side, we do want to be helpful. I know in Arizona we have a state ombudsman who deals with a number of different issues, and so I try to refer issues there as well as they come up from that state. But if it comes up in California, we'll try to send it to somebody in California to get help with. Also, of course, your local congressional office, they're certainly willing to help. We get a lot of questions from them in terms of, hey, who do I go? They don't even know sometimes who to go to within the federal government. So they'll come to us asking us, can you be of help for this? I just got a question the other day from somebody regarding a commerce question, something from the SBA, Labor Department, all of those different things. We're routinely hearing those questions as well.
Very cool. So one of the things is that I know, within the housing ecosystem, we're having a lot of issues with, dealing with cybersecurity. We're having issues with dealing with all different kinds of, my rights. And if they get enough wind out there, they're going to say, okay, we can draw enough attention, and you just kind of fold in it. So how does you protect someone that's a small business and deal with the resources because typically, as we know, there's 30 million small businesses out there, and 80% of them are women themselves. They don't have staff and support. And especially in our industry, if you're a small brokerage or if you're a small, contractor, one-off on your own, with all the things that are going on with what the oversight that are being done, how can we position ourselves better as individuals within the corporations when we're talking about scalability and the Office of Advocacy? How do you have the resources and setup to help them, direct them through your arms? And if you get a position where not all SBA offices are the same, like the district here is obviously fantastic. They've been #1 for I don't know how many years. Sylvia, you're in the house. What are we, 4 or 5 now? The SBA's been, this office in San Ana is so robust and so fantastic. They broke $1 billion last year, and their amount of spend to lend, and I'm not sure what numbers she'll talk about later on the conference of this year. So how does that relate to what we're doing? Because I know it's a very hot spot. We've got some very great legislative people in the audience.
Well, the question I get is, all right, let's say I've got a problem with a rule or regulation. What do I do about it? Well, certainly you can reach out to our office. We have a website on sba.gov/advocacy, and we have a web page specifically devoted to problematic rules or regulations that you have. If you would go on there, fill out that form, the list asks for your name, your company, number of employees. If that's 1 or you have no employees, that's great. Whatever the case may be, fill that out. We are doing 2 things with that information. 1, we are sending that to agencies to let them know what we're hearing from this region and from the country as a whole. And then secondly, we're also having regulatory roundtables across the country, which I mentioned. We've done one in Louisiana, we did one in Idaho last week. We're going to be doing Ohio, Missouri, Arizona in November. I'm pushing for one here in California at sometime in late fall or perhaps early next year. But we're going to take that data that we collect so that we have the right people in the room as well when we do those regulatory roundtables. So for instance, in Louisiana, we were hearing a lot about some fisheries issues. We had people from Interior there, EPA. In Idaho, I know they had some people from the Interior there as well regarding mining issues. And so we want to make sure we get the right people in the room when we do have these questions and concerns. Certainly CFPB and the rules and regulations that are coming down from them as well. So one of the things we want to do is make sure we collect as much data and get as much information from you, because really our office is driven by what we're hearing from the public. We can send some things out, and as we hear of information, and I hear of information that our office in DC is working on, like they'll send out a notice saying, we were doing a NAFTA working group. We want to get information from small businesses that NAFTA has a direct effect on them, and I will send that information out to congressional offices, to people on my distribution list, and make sure that they are aware of these things that are happening. For instance, another one is the Department of Interior has sent out a notice about either redesignating or undesignating some national monuments. So again, I send that out, and we look for feedback from the public on that to see how is that affecting their business. And then our office in DC can either write letters to those agencies saying, here's the small business perspective, we'd like you to keep this in mind or change this or whatever the case might be. Or we can look at, if it's nothing and they're saying, hey, this is good, keep it as it is, we can certainly react in that fashion as well. So we try to be very responsive to what we are hearing from the small businesses in the field, because that's essentially who we represent to Congress, the White House, the federal courts and federal agencies.
Did I mention that this is all free? No attorneys don't have to hassle with it. They'll take care of all the legs and aspects of it and follow up with you because it's now been registered. As I say, and I learned this from Marika Reese, who's not here today, but she taught me a very valuable lesson. It doesn't matter if the person's right next to you. The conversation never happened if you don't put it in writing. So she'd email every single employee that was 2 feet, 5 feet, across the country, across the world. Once you document, they're responsible for the follow-up that goes with it. So to have that advocacy, have that impact, be part of that statistic, and really drive that change is what we're talking about in every one of these panels. So thank you very much. So I'd love to have Sharon talk about the alternative disposition resolution, the ADR, about how that impacts and what we can do in a very high level impact, because that affects all of us in this room, because we all at some process will have borrowed money some way, shape, or form, some avenue.
Absolutely. There's ADR, Alternative Dispute Resolution, and again, that's the Ombudsman is under that larger heading. Assist in resolving matters prior to litigation. So less stress, less engagement in the adversarial process. So again, we're part of that system in terms of trying to resolve issues before they get into a formal process. The CFPB, separate apart from our office, provides an avenue of a consumer complaint process for all of us were consumers. If they wish to submit a consumer complaint to try and resolve something with the company in an informal fashion. And at the same time, our office, we're there to assist individuals and companies that may come to us if they're having a process problem with the CFPB and they want to try and resolve it informally without engaging in a formal litigation process with the CFPB. We also are informal and we want to be accessible and make the CFPB more accessible in the sense that you are the subject matter experts. When we connect with business people, with consumers, and hear back about your perspectives on, say, the implementation of TRID, or the Know Before You Owe, or the implementation of other rules, we seek out, as Philip was saying about his office, we seek out perspectives so that we can share those via our internal in-reach, that is our connecting in with the CFPB, so that we can share about these perspectives and make those voices heard so that there can be something, if there's an issue that comes into play, that it can be resolved at the lowest level and resolved informally without a formal adversarial engagement between, say, industry and the CFPB.
Excellent. Well, one of the things I'd like to highlight is June 1st, I had a meeting in DC at her office regarding the compliance risk. And I'm like, I'm coming. No, you're not, Desiree. Love you, but you're not invited. Why? It was strictly off the record for compliance issues. The CFPB was not allowed in the room. So remove the CFPB word from, or the acronym from her name, of her title, and that's what they put together this list, if correct me if you're wrong, back to the CFPB and saying this is what's being done on the biggest impact of the compliance risk. So if you really want to have that heard, this is being offered to you free, again, for the consumer, for your clients, because most of us are in a service-based industry that are in this room. So if you have clients, whether you're in the procuring contract side, vendor side, real estate side, in management, IT, whatever it is, you're going to have good complaints and bad complaints. So the idea is that to not get them escalated, if they do get escalated, to understand what that process is and the rights, regulations, and or resources that are out there through the business end and the consumer end is what we're doing. And now I know the CFPB is working on, part of it is the business end getting that and aside. I've been giving her a spoonful of information periodically as we develop through what happened through me about the unsigned checks, which we'll go into later during the conference. But just having that information, even though she doesn't have the toolkit, we'll call it, in place, she wants to keep up to date on what's going on with that, because if there's a light that she can help extend to us, that's invaluable. So thank you very much for that. So I guess the next question I'd like to go into is I want to talk about if you could highlight some real in-depth conversations. I mean, both of you gave a little bit of example, but I want to make it to where you just wow me, to be honest. I want to have I was like, okay. I want to have a conversation to where maybe that sometime past that you would like to see change between administrations and now regarding the SBA that you felt was really good and maybe not so good, that you're changing, that really would show an impact to a case maybe that it really attracted you to the job. For you to give up your job, you know, previous career, to come in to work for the Office of Advocacy for the SBA really shows your value, that you really have that, you know, thankful that you get appointed to it, but actually goes into saying your desire to help the small businesses.
Gotcha, yeah, and I'll dive into that in a second, but I want to go back to a point that we kind of touched on a little bit earlier, and that was not only letting us know individually what your issues may be, but the fact that there is strength in numbers. And let me talk about, I'll go back to my hotel days with the Asian American Hotel Owners Association. When I started back around 2000 in this business, that organization was not well known, not very powerful. I don't even know if they had a PAC at that point. But over the last 15 years, they have continued to grow and work on that organization, and it is now a powerhouse in the hospitality industry on Capitol Hill. Their members are very engaged, they are very active, and they get involved in anything that affects that industry. And I think it's very important for this organization and similar ones you know, to have that same type of effect. They can have that same type of effect. And there was a study put out recently by American University that talked, it was called the $1 Billion Blind Spot, that talked about the tax code and how it may be, I don't want to say biased against female businesses, because the tax code itself is gender neutral. But what it talked about was that service-oriented industries that are predominantly female do not see the tax benefits or the tax carve-outs, for instance, that a manufacturing business sees, or others that are more male-dominated. And so right now they're talking about tax reform in Congress, and I think it's very important, you know, it's a political decision that will be made you know, in Congress and at the White House, but I think it's very important for you to put your voice out there on what you think about, you know, tax reform and how this could impact your business as well. It's something we dealt with at the state level as well, in terms of carve-outs for businesses, you know, versus kind of a more consistent tax policy. She's been involved in business for 40 years. She understands small businesses and how to grow small businesses. She's active across the country doing meetings and tours and really getting out there and letting people know that what the SBA does and what we're all about. And so I think she's doing a great job doing that, and certainly this is part of what I'm doing today, is part of what we're doing across the country, is really just trying to get out there and let people know who the SBA is, what we're doing, and that we are here to help.
Excellent. Well, the things that you just brought up, I think, was very powerful, because what's so funny is the tax code is actually one of the initiatives that Women Impacted Public Policy, that I sent Leadership Advisory Council, that they found out that the women are actually taxed differently than the men business owners. And so we're here, I'll make sure that Lynn tomorrow brings that up on the luncheon panel, because the fact that you said that you were involved in it was just like, oh my gosh, what a light this went on. So this is incredible. So thank you very much. So Sharon, the same kind of thing. What can you talk about from the CFPB side of that?
On the CFPB side, again, we're an independent office, and we've been there for some time. We're very fortunate over time in all of the officials that we've engaged with. We've been able to maintain our independence. We've been well received in terms of being able to advocate for fairness and process, and give unfiltered feedback about perspectives that members of the public have. So it's very important, as Phil was saying, to make your voice heard. You know, there are large issues of, again, tax, and that's outside of our scope, but there's mortgage issues, the rules, etc. These are great issues that impact your industry, but at the same time, it's very important to have your voice heard again, we are here to make your voices, to make the CFPB accessible to you and to have that engagement between the public and the CFPB so the voices can be heard. Again, your insight on compliance issues, on the implementation of the many new rules that have come out from the CFPB over time, as you may know, it's very important to hear in practice how those are being implemented and to hear your feedback so that in turn we can share it with the CFPB if that's something that you do not want to keep confidential.
And or become the known source.
Or the, yes, we're very, very cautious and very practiced and again, maintaining the confidentiality of comments. So that's something that is a priority to us and again, a tenet of our profession. And we take it very seriously. Again, we know that sometimes bringing issues forward is not the easiest thing to do. And so we, again, we are very, very diligent in protecting the confidentiality of those who come to our office.
Can you tell them how to get notified of you?
Absolutely. You can look to our website. It's Consumer Finance /Ombudsman. And I brought a number of our brochures. We call these the Cliff Notes. They give a good summary of what our office does. And I have business cards too, if anyone would like to connect offline. I'd be very, very happy to hear from you. But again, you can reach us if you don't get a chance to grab our brochure or the card. You can reach us on the website, the Consumer Finance, the CFPB website, /Ombudsman. And again, we're a small team, as we were sharing earlier, and we'll be happy to offer as much assistance as we can, and we look forward to assisting you.
Small teams do mighty things.
Yes, as well, I have some brochures that I can leave out here, my business card. Again, happy to connect with you if there are particular rules or regulations that you have an issue with, or just generally if there's something that from a small business perspective we can help you with, please feel free to reach out to the SBA's Office of Advocacy.
So we're going to open up to questions, but one statistic that you might not have heard a lot of times, 91% of all women-owned businesses are run themselves. So the fact of having this support staff, the direct line to them, is so powerful because you can't work on your own and be successful. You really have to have a team of support that goes with it. And means team of support means you can be physically the person, but to have someone you can bounce ideas off of or problems with you, just to have a support system to talk to is what I'm talking about. So anyone have any questions? Come on. Robert.
Can you also assess with, let's say, issues from, let's say, a short sale perspective that are aside from the CFPB to reach out to, you put some pressures on banks when we're having issues with either negotiations or let's say, mishandling of situations and scenarios?
Very interesting question. So the question is that, how do you deal with when you're doing short sales and things like that, that sometimes things don't get handled properly. So now, could you get involved in the middle of something like that, that a bank itself is not doing a proper etiquette on doing, short sale administrative?
Well, that's a great question. And again, our offices would not be directly involved in terms of enforcing what the bank is doing. But at the same time, we can share, and we have heard from small businesses who engage with, say, larger banks and who've had, say, a dissatisfactory experience. And we can direct them to the appropriate office of the CFPB, or if they don't want to contact that office directly, then we can facilitate the sharing of that information about a problematic practice or engagement with the bank. But absolutely, that's something where we can assist, and we've heard feedback about engagement between different industries and concerns they have in engaging with each other.
I think it's very valuable if you think about anything you do. Think about all the vendors or contractors that you hire that say they're going to come over and finish a project, remodeling job, and they don't get it completed. Could that be something they could talk to you about?
Well, we assist with the process issues with the CFPB, but at the same time, to the extent that there are concerns about a third party or vendor, we can seek to research other resources that may be able to assist. We can seek to talk through options as well, either in your local area or the state or federal level. So to the extent that something is outside the scope of what we can assist with, we're happy to talk at length and to look to resources to see where we can assist. And again, as Desiree mentioned, we are a cost-free resource. We are here for you.
Imagine a live person talking to you to do the research for you to get what you need done based on a consumer complaint in any aspect, whether it be from a business end or for consumer end of the resources that are here. Now, one of you has another question. I know. I can feel it in my heart. Yes.
I guess it's just a more data-related, easy question. So last week they just reported job growth, and it was really good. How much of the small business element is there? Because I know they always say 220,000 jobs, but on the small business front, how is that measured? Because I don't see it promoted or advocated or causing awareness to that front so much.
That's a good question. I can't give you a definitive answer right now, but it's something I can certainly check with our office on to see what information they might have specifically on how many of those new employees are small business employees. I have not seen that number come out either.
Okay, thank you.
Sorry, just to add to that point, there are a few organizations that exist out there, for example, like the National Urban League, who is mainly for community and workforce, that are incorporating the small business aspect into that because they feel that in order for them to increase the workforce, they have to start with small business. Same like with NCLR and those other community-based organizations. So if you're looking for those answers, that might be a research.
Well, that's one of the things we're putting on the NDLC's initiative is to get out there for those small businesses to have that communication of what's going down there. So we're creating a very diverse depository to impact that because it's all about the resources and the connection of the information. So excellent question. One more, and then we're going to break for lunch. Come on. Okay, let me think of something. How about, what's the time frame? Someone calls in, and we heard from Sharon, it's a glacier out, it takes time, She put the very first strategic plan out there 2 years ago, and we're now just seeing something being done to the fact that the companies, the entities she regulates, that they now have their orders to get done, and they actually have power to have them actually do it, where we heard that the Omnis and through the Dodd-Frank were actually a great idea, but they have zero power to do anything about it other than maybe calling out the carpet for it, okay? So it's like, here today, gone tomorrow. So, but it's taken years, Yvonne Lee said that I should be so proud of what we have done through the organization. In 6 years, you've moved mountains in the finance industry, was her exact quote. And I'm like, I was so unbelievably overwhelmed by that comment, but I said, do you realize that's 6 years of my life? And she goes, Desiree, in the government terms, that's a blink of an eye. That's nothing. So what kind of time frame are we looking for that if Robert or Rita or anyone were to call in and say something to you, would you see some kind of reaction, or would it be something that could take months, weeks? I mean, put me in the scope other than saying, Desiree, I sat at your conference and da-da-da-da, and nothing.
Well, that's a very great and important question. Again, we are a small team. At the same time, we aim to be as responsive as quickly as possible. We do know that matters, when someone brings something to us, they're usually have gone through the usual channels. We typically will get back to someone within a few business days, and again, we can be reached directly either by email, by our main email box, or by our telephone number. And again, at that point, we'll talk with the person or the company in depth about how they would like to proceed. From that point on, it somewhat depends in terms of the nature of the process issue. There may be some shuttle diplomacy involved in going back and forth with the relevant CFPB office. We're not directive, so we cannot direct the CFPB as what to do. We can make recommendations. But it depends on the nature of the issue. Sometimes something can be resolved very quickly. Sometimes it may be a process over time, something that's a very involved process. But we aim to start work at the earliest opportunity.
So we're looking at 72-hour time frame just to say, hi, I got your information, I'm trying to do something. Very reasonable. Thank you. Philip.
I would give a similar answer as well. It depends on the nature of the issue. If you're looking for research, we can get that back to you in a day or two, if it's something simple as getting some data for you. If it's regarding a particular regulation that you have an issue with, depending upon the nature of it, it could be something that Congress could roll back in a Congressional Review Act, which was passed recently. They can do that. Or if it's been a rule or regulation that's been in law for a long time, we have to go through the process of unwinding that, and that could take public comment, putting panels together to discuss it, going back through the entire process to take that off the book. So yeah, I can't give you an exact time frame, but those things, as Sharon mentioned, can be quite lengthy.
Very cool. Well, thank you very much. I want to thank your panelists for flying all the way out here. Washington, D.C. and Arizona. It's not the easiest flight to come out, so thank you very much. And we're going to go have lunch.